You want to take that question?
Uh,
Can you set deadlines to innovation? I guess that's the question.
in yes and no. Yes, in this that rather than for example, let's say training for next year. So I let everybody have a survey as to what they would like to be trained on. It's part of our ISO agenda as well. But what could they like to be trained on to go to the next level in the coming year? So I've got weird suggestions and all that, but then out of say about 60 or 70 that came forward, somebody even mentioned that, I love music, so I think by learning guitar I can be, more stress free and all that. Somebody said this, but you tend to get that, okay, probably some music in the organization is required or whatever. So we did narrow down to 15 such topics we shared with everyone, which were half technical, some managerial, and some, probably hobbies. Somebody probably mentioned yoga, which I realized probably, could be very good for the entire organization. Why not have a yoga session every day for 10 minutes? So this was how it was, that starting 1st January, we are going to have these trainings scheduled. So please let me know by 31st October so that we could organize internal and external trainers for these. So yes, there was a deadline, and no, even somebody could come out on 31st December mentioning that probably learning salsa could be something. So under the framework, we definitely now have a general framework so that it's not really absurd or some freaking out idea, but yes, under that framework, yes, why not? So there could be in a way a deadline it becomes interesting actually. People like to come forward with then ideas before that date.
So do you think at Google, when they give that 20% that one day, do they monitor what sort of innovation is happening, or do they just let them be? So is that tracked in terms of what can be monetized, what can actually be taken to market, or do you sort of know that?
I don't know the answer to that, but a lot of what Google's doing hasn't monetized.
Yeah.
They've got a car that drives itself.
Within the campus?
No, it's done over like 150,000 miles or something insane, and it's been in one accident, and it wasn't the car's fault, or at least they say that. If I see a no driving car, so I'm getting out of the way. But yeah, I mean, but the idea is that it could lead to other innovations, and which could materialize and could financially be beneficial. I mean, stockholders, investors, they don't want to know that Google's investing in these type of things, right? I mean, that's just wasted money because it's short term. It's a long term investment, right? And we're all interested in the short term stuff. It's really the approach. And to answer your question, we're sort of tangent a little bit. It's contextual, and because you want innovation, but you want it relative to the overall goal. Like, if you can't expect to have these brilliant, innovative ideas, because then you start chasing stuff, and especially in a startup, you don't necessarily want to do that, because then what are you doing, right? Like, you're kind of going after this, and then that's not working, and you're going after this, and that's not working, and maybe this is working. You do need an agenda. You need to be willing to pivot and shift if necessary. That's the beauty of a startup. The beauty of being agile is that you can. You could find out that you thought you had this great idea, but it turns out to be this one. But you have to be focused at the same time so that you're not just all over the place. So you want to do some innovation, but maybe relative to whatever smaller agenda is going on at that time.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mahesh, what are the important
What are the 3 top do's and do nots for a successful leader?
Pardon?
What are 3 top do's and do nots for a successful leader?
3 top do's and do nots?
So I expect 3 answers, 3 do's and 3 do nots.
I ain't answering that.
So if I go first, I got to figure it.
I go first. Sorry, go ahead.
Do nots. Don't be the first one to leave at the end of the day, and don't be the last one in. People aren't going to buy into that. Does that comfort you?
Perfect. That's just one.
So that's a do not. A do, to sort of counter that, is lead from the front, right? I'll tell you a quick story. I went to school in about 1,000 miles away from where I grew up, and I didn't have any money, right? So I needed clothes. I had no clothes left, and so my mom was kind enough to go buy me some clothes. And so she went to this department store, a really big department store in the U.S. They've got places all around the country. And she didn't know what size to get me. I had grown since I'd been to college. And so she's asking the sales reps, I don't know what the size, she's taking out pictures of me, what do you think would fit? This guy comes by, my mom says, he says, how big's your son? And she said, he's actually about your size. And he said, well, let me try on the clothes. Right, so he went in the back and tried on the clothes. My mom said, yeah, that fits well on you. I'll get that for him. Or that doesn't fit well. I won't get that for him. Well, this guy went in the back and was trying all these clothes. He was one of the executive vice presidents of the company. And he's willing to get right down and dirty. Right, so that's the thing, is you lead from the front and you have to be willing to get down and dirty. And there's no role too small for you. It doesn't matter if it's just data entry or putting a stamp on a letter and mailing it out or ripping up carpet. It doesn't matter. Every role you should be willing to do.
So did the clothes fit you when they got home?
Yeah. I put on some weight at the time for being in college, but yeah.
Okay, so that's 2. So what's the third?
So that's 2. Well, I'll jump back to the other side, and this is
2 is fine. I mean, 3 is too much.
2 looks good.
What are the don'ts? I mean, so you said, okay.
One don't seems already.
Yeah, the do's also come with the don'ts. So showing up before everyone else and leaving.
Right, don't go out and buy a really nice car when your company starts doing really well. One thing I pride myself on is I drive the worst car relative to our employees. And if I go out and buy some really expensive Mercedes or whatever, how's that going to look to my employees when I'm paying them this salary, right? They know I can afford more than what I'm paying them if I'm driving some really, really fancy car. So if you do get successful, be aware of that.
I think patience. Sometimes somebody just wants to come and talk to you, or something has gone wrong, or something is not right, and so you be patient and listen to what has happened, because it may be just nothing. And second, I think your mood travels to the whole organization pretty fast. So if you are smiling, you see a lot of smiles. If you are frowning, you see a lot of quiet faces, everybody trying to avoid you, nobody coming and talking important things with you, whatever. So I try, when I enter, I just leave everything outside the door and I walk in with a smile. There's so many times that, it's worked well, and I think that's one do and one don't I can say. Sameer?
I'll tell you, don't would be don't be a jerk, right? So a lot of people, I think it's important, like Sean said, I think it's important to fit in and not being, the boss and just for everyone to think you're the boss. You could be a leader, but you don't necessarily have to show who's the boss. I mean, that's been sort of my credo, so I don't do that. But do's, I think I have been in circumstances within my company where my CTO came to me once and said, the CEO is missing in the company, so I wasn't being the leader. So it's important for people within the organization, they look up to you, it's important for you to be the leader. And I think a lot of people forget that. They kind of think that just because you hire people or you employ people, it's okay not being a leader. So in my opinion, that's really, really important. And I think it's also very important to be honest with people, honest with your clients, honest with everyone. I think it's really held us in good stead. As a leader, when there are difficult circumstances, but people kind of trust you to always tell the truth. Okay, so I think that the trust factor is really critical, and for startups, you need to start right from the day you think about building that company. This cannot happen later. It has to start from the day you start a company. In our country, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't tell the truth, who lie and get away with it. But I think it's important for you to believe that being honest can make you successful, and I think it will. Because if you grow that company to a certain level and people kind of have that culture where you can lie and you can be dishonest with anyone, they will be dishonest. So I think those are, in my opinion, the 2 important things.
Okay, Vinay, one question for you.
Yes.
What do you think is a do and don't?
My question back to me.
Yeah, why not? I think all good.
It can't be any of this.
Yeah, it has to be a different answer, Vinay.
Do's, I feel it is, one is the sharing vision that must be there. So you should keep updating them, you should keep sharing your vision, your ideas, asking them. And don'ts, what I always say, never give surprises. So your team should be ready for anything whenever anything big things happening. Maybe it is a new client coming in, maybe it is a new client who's leaving you. Anything happening, so team should be ready with that. That's what I always believe in.
Questions or?
Sure. Sean, you have a very small team of 13, I guess, right? So at times, do you support them on personal level also, or it's only professional support?
Yeah, business is personal, right? I mean, you try not to let it be, but it is.
Yes.
So the answer is yes, and it's tough, right? So you one night you might be out with them for dinner and you're having these nice conversations about their personal life, and the next morning you got to get on top of them and yell at them or whatever. It is difficult, but if you don't let them intertwine at the same time, that's one style that's sort of worked for us. But absolutely, I mean, these people are people who are going to be there late at night with you when you need to get that product released, right? So you get to know them really well. So it does get personal.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my question is Sean.
We have a group from MIT Business School, led by Professor D. They would love to have a photograph with you guys, and you can join.
Same here.
That's great.
Thank you.
So come on, guys. You can just please come to the hall.
Yes, that's all.
One more, please. Thank you.
Thanks.